Another cold Wednesday morning here in Minnesota, at least, and cold in the markets as well. But let's start with yesterday. Yesterday, the markets were bumpy. There's no doubt about that. And some serious volatility going on. The disconnect and the dislocation of the NASDAQ versus the Dow stocks themselves, absolutely as much as we've ever seen it. As a matter of fact, yesterday, we were at the highest levels in the Dow yesterday, about 6 minutes into the day. As a matter of fact, then you look over at the NASDAQ, and the lows of the NASDAQ were hit in the first hour of the day. Just gives you some sort of an understanding of exactly where we were. So when you look at the Dow, we were at about 27,700 on that highs that I talked about 6 minutes into the day. You look over at the NASDAQ on the lows, you were down at about 11,360. Well, as we started to get further and further into the day, we started to see some of what was really becoming a bit of a meltdown yesterday, but nothing nearly to the extent of what we are seeing today. But down about 222 points yesterday on the Dow. You look over at the NASDAQ, on the other hand, up about 72 points. So a real disconnect once again. And what was really leading that? Well, of course, technology. You look over at the NASDAQ and you had some great leaders. Obviously, the storyline of the AMD going after Xilinx on a $35 billion deal. So that put Xilinx up right away, an absolute spike in that stock. Then followed by Zoom, followed by Amazon, Facebook, Twitter at multi-year highs yesterday, actually getting up and above that $51 level. So that was interesting. We had some of the Chinese names participating pretty well as well. We had JD, we had NetEase, those names moving to the upside. So there was some definite strengths. Where we'd seen some weaknesses, however, when you look at the Dow, the industrial names getting pounded pretty good, down about 3% or more. Boeing, Caterpillar, 3M. So that wasn't so great. And then you get over to the financials, where we'd had a little bit of that spark. We had it for a couple of days. Poof, it's gone, guys. We aren't even clinging near that 25 level of the XLF, but again, down 2% or more. JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, American Express, JP Morgan now in that $100 range again, a little bit even below that side of things. So strength in technology definitely stood out. We had Apple, we had Salesforce, we had Microsoft, we had F5, we had all these various names that were definitely contributors. And we had a volatility index that started edging even that much further. Here we are again into the 30s and actually above 33 yesterday. So that was all interesting. And also something I pointed out the other day about the lack of volume and getting back underneath the higher volumes where we had been trading at yesterday. 23.5 million contracts. Great day. In any other year, that would be an unbelievable day. In 2020, that feels like a very light day. It's exactly what it was. As a matter of fact, take a look at this. I'll give you our top numbers. Apple, underneath 1 million contracts trading. That's less than half of normal. AMD, they did double their average numbers. Microsoft, definitely very close to a double of their numbers as well. Tesla, about half of its normal numbers. So both Apple and Tesla that are normally oftentimes in the top three for sure. Some of those volumes definitely coming down and about half of normal, and those are big numbers in a normal basis. So that was something. Now, then you get to the earnings last night. We had Microsoft and you had First Solar. You want to talk about two polar differences in terms of reaction to what was heard. Microsoft, little bit of a pop early and then just started to give that back, giving it back again today. But they did crush their numbers. They absolutely crushed the numbers. Some of the guidance, though, going forward, not what people were wanting to hear. And that's something I was talking about last night when we were on the Fast Money at 5 o'clock on CNBC. We were talking about, well, these numbers are great, but people always want to look ahead. You look at what the quarter looked like. There's no doubt about it. You want to see the progress that's going on. But what are you forecasting going forward? That's what we were waiting for last night. We didn't get that till a little bit later. And when we did, that's when the stock started to move that much more further to the downside. On the other hand, First Solar, not only did they deliver, and they did deliver, they crushed it. But on top of that, they even gave some numbers that got people even that much more excited for the full year as well. So a nice 10, 11% move to the upside out of First Solar last night. That was a pretty stunning numbers. And we know what's been going on in that industry. We've had a lot of unusual option activity across the alternative energy space, but specifically sticking with a lot of those in that particular area. So we'll see if that continues, but a huge run. I think the stock got up towards that 92 level, really big run. And if you take a look back over the last quarter, this is one of the names in the cash flow portfolio that we've been talking about time and time again, and giving it a little bit of room to run. So when we've been selling options, which is what we do against long stock in this portfolio, it's just a buy right portfolio, but it's in quality names, and we're looking for names where we see enough implied volatilities to be able to sell. And if we can do that and collect that premium, that just gives us that much more of a return. First Solar has been an absolute monster for us, and it all gets credit back to the first unusual option activity that we were seeing in that name when that stock was trading, I think, back in the low 60s, maybe even in the upper 50s, something like that. It's about 6 months ago or so now when we first got into that name. So that's just one of those, just to give you a little idea of all of the different things we do here at Market Rebellion, not just the educational side, not just the unusual option side, but there's a lot more that goes to it. We've got some great technical folks as well. AJ Monty's done an absolutely amazing job, as has so many others. I tell you, Bill and the educational staff, those guys doing an absolutely amazing job. Absolutely amazing job. Ryan and his gang as well. So we've really got an unbelievable team here. We're really excited about it, Market Rebellion, I can tell you that. The opening indications today did not look good. Well, and they've held up, not looking too good. We looked a little bit better at the open, but the indications were that we were going to be down about 600 points, about 180 points on the NASDAQ. So on the NASDAQ, about a 1.6% move to the downside. We had crude selling off about 5%. We had gold off about 2%. We got silver off a little more than 4%. This was all right at the bell. And things got a little bit better for a moment. We were seeing the Dow definitely improve from some of those numbers. Well, now we're starting to slide once again. So we had a little bit of that improvement. We are less than an hour into the day, but almost an hour into the day. We're down 720 points right now. We're down 330 points right now on the NASDAQ. That's about a 3% move, about a 2.7% move on the Dow to the downside. S&P 2.7% move to the downside. It makes sense where I'm seeing the volatility index. Volatility index has been up around 37, 38. It slipped back a little bit, which makes me wonder a little bit. Nope, here it is, 39. It was just catching up real quick. 39 now on that VIX, 39.60. That's a big number. And that's a number that's telling you, hey, we're going to get a movement like what we're seeing right now, 2+% day in, day out, day in, day out. So just keep that in mind as you're looking and trying to understand the implied volatilities of a lot of these various stocks as they're going lower. Just keep in mind that implied volatility, what that's really telling you for those individual stocks. When I'm talking about the VIX, that's the S&P 500. So that just remember that. So that's right now trading, like I say, 39.60. It's up almost 19% today. So if you're looking for unusual option activity, if you look over at the volatility index, and I think a while back we were seeing some major moves in the volatility index in terms of the big option traders, and I don't know if 50 Cent was part of this whole thing or not, but we've certainly seen some of that activity coming in there. So unfortunately, the bad cocktail that mixed in that got us to the point where we are, where we're down 750 points now, it's that cocktail of coronavirus, the concerns, the outbreak, a lot of what might happen, what kind of shutdowns, what might we see. We're already hearing things globally about what others are going to be doing. Lack of the progress with the stimulus, that's an issue, so a double whammy. Obviously, the unknown of what's going on with the election, that's another one. Just add to the punch bowl or the cocktail, so to speak, in this particular case. And that's why we've had a couple of days this week now. This is day 2 where we've had some serious selling in the markets. And this time, there is no disconnect. It's almost exactly equal. NASDAQ and Dow getting pounded to the downside. Every single stock in the Dow, and this was when the market was down only about 530 or so, only. But every single stock in the Dow was down. Every single one of them was in the red. And the weakest links that we were seeing there, you get the little weakest link, Visa, that was down close to 5%. We had Dow down about 3.5%. We had Chevron down a little more than 3%. So that's fintech, that's industrials, that's energy. So essentially, you can take away from that and then start looking at those particular sectors, and you'll see exactly what we're talking about in terms of this big move to the downside. Technology, add that to the mix as well, where technology down, it was down, it's down more now, I'm sure. It's down about 2.5%. Semiconductors was down about 2%. Financials, down about 2%. Materials, about 2%. Healthcare, about 1.5%. Industrials, 1.7, but I'm telling you right now, just based on what I'm seeing and where I last looked, industrial's got to be down at least 2% or more right now. And we talked about that volatility index, that huge spike. Well, we're seeing that. Energy, that move to the downside for oil. We were not too terribly long ago trading still above 40, and not even that long ago trading above 41. Here we are now trading in the 37s. And we're looking at XLE down about 3%. We got the OIH down about 4%. So those higher beta names, that's going to get worse too if we continue this push to the downside that we're seeing right now. And also, you've got what's going on in terms of the interviewing of some of the tech firms that are sitting up on the hill as well, and some of the testimony going on there. That's another thing that's definitely disturbing the markets and what could be going forward from here. So I got a little bit of positive out there. So we always like to take care of our pets. It's one of the areas that oftentimes is a little bit of Teflon, not fully, but oftentimes because you've got to take care of your pets, you do. And a name like Chewy certainly does stand out. Chewy, which was trading at about $72.35 at the time of this buying. We had a buyer of 3,200 of this week, Friday, so it's already Wednesday, so this has got to happen quick, and we've got a really brutal day in front of us right now, down 750, but the 75 strike call, so stock's got to go up, call it a couple of bucks, a couple, $3. These were going for about 35 cents. They went all the way up to about 95 cents. I'm sure they've come back in a little bit here, but so call it around 60 cents is what people were paying essentially on the average for these calls as they're looking at Chewy potentially making a move to the upside. We'll see if that plays out. That was some of the unusual that stuck out to me early. There was a lot of names to select from there, but I just felt like many of those names looked a little bit more dangerous. Didn't want to talk about those. This one made a little bit of sense to me because, like I say, oftentimes in certain situations, and we've seen this in the financial crisis, we've seen this other times, there are certain things that people continue to spend on. They continue to spend on certainly their pets. They also oftentimes are willing to spend a little bit of money on some of what they really, really enjoy in life, right or wrong. Some of those sin type things, maybe even the coffees and the cigarettes and some of those kinds of things, but specifically coffee. It's amazing how oftentimes people will justify that they're buying for the $3 and $4 and $5 cups of coffee, but that is something that we have seen in the past as well. So really slamming day to day. We're actually down about 780. We just keep on slipping a little bit further. NASDAQ down about 350 right now, a little bit over 3%. When you got the volatility index, get this, guys, 4046, up 21%. So a high level of concern. This is a spike that started at a pretty nice level of 33, where we had a hard time getting up and over 30 for any sustained amount of time. Here we are yesterday closing around 33. Today, now here we are, 40 and a half. That fast. Unbelievable. Understand all of this and how this affects the options world, the derivatives world, how you can protect positions if you're looking to do that, how you can sell calls against positions if you're looking to do something like that. Our educators are the best in the industry. Market Rebellion, love our guys. We have some of the best men and women you'll ever find in the industry. There's no doubt in my mind. I think they're the very best. And you just got to test it out because this is the growth area. This is the place to be. And folks, we just had that great, exciting thing this past week for the 200th episode. So that's going to be exciting. I don't know. I have not heard, and I've been getting hit on Twitter by a lot of different people. Hey, Pete, who won? I think there's more than one winner as well. So we'll see how that all unfolds. I'm going to check with the crew as soon as we get done with this and find out exactly what's going on and if there's been somebody named already or not. And we're going to make sure that I get that out to you as well. Folks, have a great day of trading.